Ireland, for the first time, has beaten India. This was in a T20 game today. It was Shreyas Iyer's first match as captain for India T20. An unfortunate loss. Two debutants, Matt Hollard and Jay Moondra, took wickets. India bowled out for 148, and they were chasing a pretty high 183. Sooryavanshi, big name in the series, was not playing today despite being in the squad. And another news of cricket, England and New Zealand going in full swings. The third test is really much the decider, and it seems like it's on the knife's edge. What a week of cricket.
What a week of cricket indeed. Welcome back to the In Between Overs podcast. We're your host for the day's play. I'm Taran.
And I'm Ishaan.
Yeah, starting with the Ireland India game, no one saw that coming. We're looking at an inexperienced Ireland team where a lot of the big names that brought Irish cricket into the fore are no longer in the Irish team. And these are a bunch of young guys. You have two debutants. Some of the players on the team have been playing only a few games under the belt, and they were able to pull off one of the biggest upsets of the year. India starting their post championship run, if you will, after winning the World Cup, their first T20I game post World Cup with a newer squad as well. A couple of changes here and there. New captain, which we'll talk about. Not the start that they would have expected.
No, no, not at all. And if we go, right at the start of the game, waking up to a score of Ireland making 182 was shocking. You see the bowling lineups India had, as you mentioned. It is right after the World Cup, but let's not forget they played the IPL. The IPL was, the T20 format. Players should be in full swing, and from the bowling department as well. It seems like your regular lot. Of course, we're missing some big names. But it does seem like, we gave up too many runs in the beginning for sure.
Yeah, I think the fielding had a lot to do with that. They dropped three or four catches during the innings, and they weren't all tough ones. Some of them were relatively easy as per India's fielding standards these days, but they for some reason weren't able to hold on to those. You wonder if it's being in a new environment because a lot of these players have been in India for the last, I would say, pretty much the entire year, going back to the World Cup and the series before the World Cup. A lot of these players would have just been playing cricket in India. So for the first time now, they're playing cricket outside of India, and I wonder how much a new environment, new grounds, new grass, new everything around you, how much that has an effect on your fielding and your batting and your bowling, like all aspects of the game, right? It's a that there's something to be said about winning away, right? And I think that showed in today's game where India seemed a bit rusty in all departments because they were out of the familiarity of playing in India.
No, that's a very good point. Very good point. It does definitely seem like that was the case. And if we do quickly focus on two quick bowlers, Harshit Rana, I think quick talking about him coming back. He's obviously on sort of an extended absence there, but him coming back and with those figures of around 6 runs per over and getting 3 wickets, I think that's very good signs for Team India and this series in England. He was there in England and Ireland last year as well, so it's great for him to sort of be there and looks like he's back in form. And our podcast favorite bowler, Mr. Prasidh Krishna. He always coming to these England tours, England and Ireland tours, and it just seems like he was off the gun here.
Yeah, he just came off of a performance where he took a fifer. I believe it was against Afghanistan. So it's not like he's short on confidence. But his over seemed to have been the game changer. I think he went for 26 or 27 in that in the over in the back end, and that really gave Ireland the boost because at one stage it looked like they were just headed to 150, 160, and then that over boosted them up to that 180 target, which in the end proved to be a challenging target to chase down on a pitch that was offering something to the bowlers if you varied your pace.
No, no, exactly that, exactly that. So India obviously chasing a higher total than probably what they expected, 182. But coming in, we had our marquee openers, and India's not short of any marquee openers. Abhishek Sharma and Sanju Samson. And it seems like it's good to see Abhishek Sharma in form, but it just seems like maybe Sanju Samson just missed the gun today.
Yeah, he got a good ball. He got a good ball. Debutant bowler put it in the spot, left arm over the wicket, and he swung it a little bit, just enough to get the inside edge of Sanju, who was playing for the ball going with the shape, and it came back ever so slightly. It took his inside edge. Amazing ball to get first stop, good length as well. So you got to give credit to the bowler there. You think about the bowler Jay Moondra, who's one of the debutants in this game for Ireland. I looked him up a bit, and he was born in India, Rajasthan born, so he probably had desires of playing for India, and I wonder how much of that played in his mind when he went up to bowl that first ball against Sanju Samson, against a team that he probably grew up wanting to play for, and now he's playing against. And I wonder how good a feeling it was to get that wicket first ball. First international wicket, one of the best players in the world right now, if not the most talked about player in the last 6 months. And it was a good ball. Sanju Samson, I know he'll come back in the next game.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, that's a very good point about Sanju. He is sort of that 0 to 100 player, and it does seem like, we could tell very early on if he's gonna be getting that score, because if he survives, to your point, like, if he gets 10, 12 runs off the middle of his bat, I think we're in for a show. But no, I totally agree on that. And then when it comes to Jay Mundra, with the figures of something like 4 overs at 26 runs with 2 wickets, that's those are great figures to have of an economy of 6.5 against India. Incredible, incredible economy. But yeah, to your point as well, for Sanju going back, it does seem like there is that risk of him maybe not performing, but you hedge that with Abhishek Sharma as well, because he's also similar players. So maybe you're gambling on one of them performing, but is that a gamble? Because yes, Abhishek, of course, Abhishek Sharma scored a dynamic 50, but you know, if he got 100, he probably would have won. But it does seem like it just was a collapse in sort of the middle there.
Speaking of Abhishek Sharma's 50, I saw the highlights and the game, and I saw him get to 50, but ESPN Cricket Info is stating his score at 49. So I don't know. I don't know if it's an error or was a run docked. But anyways, I remember he scored a 50, and that's what I'm gonna take. I I think he should have hunkered down a little bit and continued on. It was a ball that was there to be hit, but Ireland were good with their change-ups as well. They would ever so slightly get the ball into the pitch, and the pitch would either hold the ball up ever so slightly that threw off the timing of the shot. And we saw that with a number of the Indian batters. Whenever they were looking to go big, they were either top edging it or they weren't hitting the middle. The bat kept turning in their hands, which tells me that their timing was just thrown off by a few milliseconds here and there. But that's enough to force a skyer that doesn't clear the boundary and ends up being caught. So I think his shot selection was good. I think he just didn't middle the ball, which happens. And you got to give credit to the bowlers again. I think Ireland were spot on with their plans.
Yeah, and speaking of, you did allude to the bowlers that performed well, as well as sort of the collapse that happened with the bowling. So shout out to Matthew Hollard. A little background on him.
Yes.
Obviously, with South African roots, he obviously, you can tell his family definitely devoted a lot to the game, and for him to perform against India and getting some very, very key wickets. If you look at the scorecard here, Ishaan Kishan 1 for 5, Shreyas Iyer 3 for 7, and then even the dangerous Washington Sundar for 9 for 12. Those are getting some key wickets at some key times, and India does seem susceptible where 2, 3 quick wickets in succession, then India's sort of pace of batting comes into question, because some of the batters maybe who come a little ahead, for example, like a Shivam Dubey or whatever, maybe used to playing a little more of a higher pace, not really looking chase, those 70 runs within 40 balls ish. So it gets a little tricky for India when it comes to the pace of batting, when really the middle order gets out really quickly.
Yeah, they needed one of Ishan Kishan, Shreyas Iyer, and Tilak Verma to put up a score, and none of them were able to. Tilak Verma looked threatening. He looked like his usual self, where he sort of like shepherds the innings, and then unleashes towards the end. And it looked like he was starting to build his innings He got caught. Unfortunately, it was again, I think, a good shot. He just found the fielder, and that happens. And I feel that his wicket was key because off late he's been that guy that has bailed out India of situations and has been able to move through the gears very well. I know Shreyas Iyer is very capable of that as well. We saw it in the IPL, but he again just wasn't able to clear the fence.
Yeah. So unfortunately, obviously, India being short of the chase. I think Shreyas Iyer, one of Shreyas Iyer's quotes at the end of the game was, what did he say? He said, "Great start as a captain," and then he laughed. Just one of those games for India, or do you think there's reasons for greater concern?
Yeah, I think it's one of those games. I wouldn't look too much into it. The problem here is, every team is bound to lose at some point, right? It's very rare for teams to be perfect against every opposition. I think the problem here with the loss is that they lost against Ireland, and that's what people are going to look at. Oh, they lost against Ireland. But people have to also realize that teams, and I think we've talked about this on previous podcasts. These associate nations, and Ireland is not. Ireland is a test playing nation. But these teams now have players that are rubbing shoulders with international players all the time because of being in the franchise leagues all over the world, right? And so they're getting exposed to higher skilled cricket and learning from these higher skilled players. And so I think we're getting more and closer to parity in at least in T20 cricket, where these associate nations are able to challenge the big boys, right? And you want to see that. Like, part of me was disappointed that India lost, and part of me was happy that Ireland won because we've seen Ireland come through. They're a team similar to Afghanistan that have been one of the best associate, or again, I keep saying associate, they're a test playing nation now, but one of those teams where they've been the best after the top 10 in the international game, right? Them and Afghanistan. And they lost a little bit of that limelight to Afghanistan in the last, I'd say in the last 5 to 6 years, where Afghanistan have I would say, is a better team than Ireland. So I'm really happy from that standpoint that Ireland were able to put up this performance. They looked really good with the bat, where you could argue that in the power play they went a little too hard, but at the same time you understand because they're playing against an Indian batting lineup that is capable of scoring 200 on any pitch with no issues. And so you can understand the mindset to come in, go hard. They lost wickets, but then they showed that they're able to put together a partnership in the middle. I think their captain, I've followed Lorcan Tucker and Harry Tector, who I believe are their best batters right now. I've been following them for the last couple of years, and I've noticed that they are Ireland's main batters for putting up scores. If Ireland have to put up a score, they have to score runs, and we saw that today. Lorcan Tucker made a 50, and he got good support from Delaney as well, and they played the spin bowlers well. They played Akshar well. They played Washi well. They weren't troubled by the pace as well. So it was really good to see the way they put together that 180 target. They came at the end. They scored those quick runs. They took down Prasidh Krishna. I know we joke around about Prasidh Krishna and his hot and coldness, but he is an elite bowler, and he was absolutely taken down by Ireland. So from the perspective of that, it was a great game to watch because you saw Ireland being able to go toe to toe with effectively the world champions, and you saw the light at the end of the game when they took that final wicket, and you saw the celebrations. You saw how big it was for them, and you could even see the friends and family in the crowd, which I must say was predominantly Indian, but they were obviously probably their friends and family that came to watch that game, and you saw them also celebrating that win. I think it's a big thing for Irish cricket, and it'll give them a lot of confidence going forward. But for India, I don't think I don't think this is a problem. It's okay to lose, and I think we need to lose that. Is stigma the right word? We need to lose that thing about, oh, they lost against Ireland. Ireland is a good team. Afghanistan is a good team. It's okay to lose against these teams. I think we need to stop looking at, change the team, sack this person. No, it's fine. It's international cricket. If you're losing against teams like Ireland and Afghanistan, that means the quality of cricket must have been good, right? So that's, I know I went on a bit of a tangent there, but I think that's where we're at in the game, which is a good thing for the international game.
No, I agree with that sentiment. It's really good for the game, really good for the growth of the game. To your point, it inspires that young kid in the crowd in Ireland to like, want to play at that level. And to your point, as you said earlier, it is the T20 format. And at the end of the day, these games against these bigger teams like India, like, Australia that, other teams may play, this for the smaller nations, this is very much a showcase. They're showcasing their talent to the international market, to the international leagues. We know how many leagues there are throughout the world. We were actually just talking about that off air. A lot of these owners are looking for players who can play a Prasidh Krishna, who could take down a Washington Sundar. So at the end of the day, it is sort of it's sort of a trial show for them, and a lot of players, that's the motivation you really need to really play really well, and, we always talk about this as well. The T20 game is one of those games where, you know, the difference between an elite team and a very smaller team could be very small because the game is very small. You could have 2 quick wickets, a good partnership, 3 successive wickets, and 2 good overs, and the game could really switch on the dime. So, not surprising to your point because Ireland is a good team, but it's great for the game to grow. Looking forward now to the next game, do you foresee Captain Shreyas Iyer making any big changes for the game on Sunday? Obviously, the big headline being Sooryavanshi still on the sidelines.
I feel the squad that they have is really strong right now. This 11, they just had a average game. They just had an average game. They didn't take their catches. They were inconsistent with the ball. They didn't quite hit the middle with the bat. I think they just needed this game under their belts to come back stronger. And I see the same 11 playing each game unless the pitch changes. Maybe it favors the spinners, then maybe they play an extra spinner, or maybe it favors the fast bowlers, maybe they play an extra fast bowler. That's all I see. I don't see any drastic changes with the batting lineup. I think this is the best team that India has, and we gotta give them a chance through these 3 matches. I think if we see major disappointments with either bat or ball with any of the players, then we may see changes for the future series in England. But I think for this series, I feel like we may see the same 11. Maybe they swap out one of the bowlers. Maybe Prasidh Krishna misses out the next game. Maybe they play a Gurnoor Brar, get the extra pace in. Because one thing we've seen with Associate Nations is they don't like extra pace because they don't face it enough. So maybe we see a Gurnoor Brar come in who can easily hit 145, 150, and that might have an impact on the game.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I don't expect any changes as well. To your point, I think maybe Sooryavanshi will be left off for the England series, but yeah, don't see any big changes going in, at least for Sunday. Now, a little bit, staying within the vicinity, England, New Zealand, Trent Bridge. What a series, and Stokes is back. What are your thoughts on the game so far?
All that drama only for Stokes to come back as captain, come back in the lineup. I was messaging this to you. England cricket, the drama in England cricket makes cricket entertaining because we don't really get a lot of drama outside of that, and most of the drama comes from the English cricket team. And Stokes, for everything that happened, walked right back into the team, and he looks a little bit rejuvenated, at least with the ball. They didn't start well. 317 runs put up by the 2 New Zealand openers, Latham and Conway. We'll talk about Latham. I want to talk about his innings, but they fought back. England fought back through their captain once again. And this is why England need to take care of Stokes because he is by far their best player because he's able, for some reason, when the backs are against the wall, he always finds a way to do well. England were staring down. At one point, I was like, this is going to be a target of, not target, but a first innings total of 500 or 600 at least. For them to bowl out New Zealand at 430-ish or whatever it ended up being, they took 10 wickets for 130 odd runs after conceding 317 in the first 72 overs on day one. That is all Stokes. He has this ability to that never say die attitude, that no matter the position they're in, no matter how bad it looks, he still believes that England is in the front seat. He still believes that England is ahead of the game, which is phenomenal belief. And I think that characteristic is what makes him so special, is why I believe it's good that he's back, and why I believe he needs to continue as England captain. There was a comment I heard from Nasser Hussain, and I agree with it a lot. I think it was before the test match where he said Stokes has taken care of his players whenever they got into any bad situations, any mishaps. He always had their back. And I think this was one of the, I know he's had previous history of bad incidents, but that was before he was captain. I don't think there has been a bad incident per se by him while he was captain. This was one of the first ones, if not the first one. And I felt that the players and the staff and the management needed to have his back this time. Because yeah, we're all human beings. We make mistakes. We don't know exactly what happened in that incident, right? But knowing Stokes, the on-field person, what you see on TV with the way he fights for his players, you wonder if that is what happened in that incident, right? Where he was probably just standing up for whatever that was being said against him or his teammate Gus Atkinson. So you wonder if that was the case. So I felt they should have the team should have had his back so that it didn't end up being the drama that it turned out to be. It ended up being good for, I guess, views and for clicks and all of that stuff. But overall, I don't think it was needed. Right? He came back in and he's right where he needs to be, leading this team.
Yeah, I think maybe one additional thing it's going to help out with is maybe some of the banter during the next Ashes series, but we'll let the Aussies handle that one. But no, I agree with you. He is one of those players who does seem like he gets the best out of everyone, whether that's pushing on Archer or whether that's motivating Shoaib Bashir, who went off for so many runs on day one. But still, to your point, he was motivating players, and he does get them back in the game. So we've seen that time and time again. So it's great for him to be back. And to your point, it's also great for him to be back for world cricket. He is one of those marquee players. He gets, bums in seats. He gets people looking at the television, whether he's bowling or batting. And again, this was one of those moments that was probably created to get the best out of Ben Stokes. For all the media trial that he had to go through, coming back, not the best first couple of sessions on day one, getting, some clutch wickets from the team, and then sort of, making sure New Zealand are wrapped up before, they really go ahead with the game. I think to your point, Stokes is probably the biggest enforcer or motivation sort of behind basically England kind of maybe being a neck ahead, nose ahead, maybe slightly on par.
Yeah, so New Zealand ended up scoring 438. England are now 223 for two at the end of day two. I would say England are slightly ahead in this
Hmm.
game. I agree with you. I think New Zealand could have batted England out of this game. They missed an opportunity there. But this is the beauty of Test cricket. This is why we love Test cricket, right? Where you think after 72 overs, this is going one way, and then next thing you know, England's right back, right? And another shout out to Stokes. He took his 250th Test wicket along with 7,000 plus test runs as a test match player. The only other player in history to do it is Jack Collis, who is the GOAT all rounder. Are we talking about the GOAT all rounder here with Stokes?
That's still with Jack Callis. I'm sorry. Stokes is a clutch player, and to your point, probably the best, at that level for the last few years in the test format. You just don't have too many of those players anymore. It's a really much a rare breed, but he's great at it, and and he captains as well, which is just like an extra burden on top of him. But no, he is one of those marquee players, and a test side is better with Ben Stokes in it for sure.
Speaking of captains, we got to give some flowers to Tom Latham. I was messaging you about this too. I feel he's one of the most underrated openers or batters in Test match cricket. He's got 1700s. He just notched up his 1700 on day one It was a phenomenal innings. Him and Conway, that partnership was amazing. It was not like the pitch was a road. It was a little easier to bat on because it was a little on the slower side, but the ball was still seaming around. The ball was still moving. There was a little bit of spin. They just batted so well, especially Tom Latham. It was a phenomenal innings, and he needs to now be talked about as that next sort of batting great in New Zealand cricket. Now, Kane Williamson is no longer here in Test matches. When you look at this New Zealand 11, when you look at their batting, the one person that I would want out is Tom Latham.
No, I totally agree. Elegant batting, and when he's in for a long time, he is in. He's gonna make you pay. Not really too sure what he's thinking when he got out there, but I know we talked about that after as well. But no, to your point, it was a great, great innings, great partnership, and it did seem like, basically 2 sessions in the game that the matches maybe already wrapped up, and New Zealand are gonna run away with it. But, it does seem like it's hard to sort of come back from such a great opening partnership. Again, as we say in cricket, one brings two, and that's what happened, and the rest is sort of history.
Yeah, in this case, one brought 10. And then England come out guns blazing. Ben Duckett has been out of form for the last almost a year now. He was ridiculed during the Ashes series, didn't really get a score. He's been out of touch in all the formats. He scored 100 to remember classic Ben Duckett innings where he went hard from ball one and he just kept going. And you could see the emotion. You could see how much the 100 meant to him. You could tell it played with his mind, being out of form, getting a lot of stick for his performances, and he was finally able to get back in form.
Yeah, no, no, totally agree there. It does seem like, the England middle order is looking to get settled in. We saw obviously Jacob Bethel, he was also a little bit under the radar as well for his latest batting performances. But, so far it looks like he's been able to make up the mark. And Joe's chasing Mr. Tendulkar. I feel like he's chipping away after every game, and it does seem like this could be one of the pitches where, Joe Root makes a big innings as well.
Yeah, they usually say day three is the moving day in Test match cricket, so it's gonna be a fun day to watch. I do feel the surface is still really good for batting. New Zealand have their work cut out. Did I hear correctly that there was a replacement for concussion? There was a concussion sub for New Zealand, I believe. Yes, Blair Tickner. I think he got injured while batting against Archer, and so they have Zach Folks coming in, and Zach Folks hasn't played this series yet, and so he came in. So New Zealand a bit light on the bowling because clearly Zach Folks wasn't their first choice for being in the team, and they don't have Tickner now, who I believe is an out and out fast bowler in terms of speed and bounce. So they're missing that option. I noticed that New Zealand's bowling is a lot different than the previous Test match. There's no Kyle Jamieson. There's no Matt Henry. Nathan Smith has played all the matches, and Will O'Rourke is playing. So they're gonna have their work cut out for sure.
100%. We know how again, this could be like one of those long test matches. So to your point, day three is a moving day. And I think, when both teams go out for the second innings, we may see some tired legs out there for sure.
All right, we can't wait to watch that Test match as well as cover the rest of this India Ireland series. Do you think Ireland has a shot of winning this series?
As much as we encourage these smaller nations, I think India is definitely, one of those teams where it will reverse back to the mean. India has a way better squad, and I definitely think India will clean up this series going forward.
Yeah, I think so too. I think at the end of the day, what is that saying? Form is temporary, class is permanent. I think the
Yeah.
class of this Indian team will show over the remaining two matches, and I think it'll be a 2-1 series there. With the England New Zealand Test match, how do you see this one panning out?
This one I think is gonna be full of, ups and downs. I still think that New Zealand, despite maybe England being maybe a little ahead, I think New Zealand have the ability to maybe wrap this game up and win the series.
Okay, okay. I have a feeling England's going to win this game. As much as I
Okay.
want New Zealand to win, it'll be great for them to get an away series win in England. I just think with everything that's happened with England, this would be a great win just to shut up everyone. That's all the naysayers out there that is talking about this England squad having issues within the team and the culture and all of that. I think it'll be just a great win from that perspective. So let's see how it pans out. This is why we love cricket. Until the next one, that's Stumps.